Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. This is season 9, episode 1. The regular season is here, fellas. We're starting anew. We're 0-0 going into the regular season, starting it off with an NFC East clash, a divisional opponent. You know, these games always count just a little bit more. We're going to dive deep into that matchup with the New York Giants. But first, fellas, did you get who you wanted in your fantasy football draft? Who'd you miss out on that you really wanted to get?
Before tonight, I'm sorry, E, but before tonight, I was like trying to get Jamar Chase the entire draft because that's like my favorite player in the league, man. And I couldn't get him. And finally in my warehouse league, even with the fourth pick, these losers, they didn't draft him. He fell to me with the fourth pick. So thank you for that. But outside of that, I'm in so many leagues. I'm in a lot of leagues, 12 in fact. So I pretty much you pretty much get whatever player you want when you're in that many leagues.
Yeah, you should build an all-star team and just dominate every one of them. You just take the best two players off every team.
I wish it worked that way. It has its advantages and disadvantages. It's a lot of management.
Yeah, I got a lot of long shots. Let's put it that way. I should have auto drafted because I was not able to give it my full attention, and I've got some long shot horses that might play out. Some injuries happen. Some things might happen. Some I might be sitting pretty if a few guys get injured. But if that doesn't happen, it's going to be a long season for the E-Funk All-Stars.
What a name.
We believe in you. All right, so the depth chart dropped today, and there's a lot that was discussed about this on different social media platforms. I think the thing that got most folks talking was a running back situation with Austin Eckler listed as RB1, McNichols RB2, Chris Rodriguez RB3, and Krosky Merritt as RB4. Eric, are you surprised at this depth chart? Does it mean anything to you, sir?
No, I'm not surprised at all for week one. I mean, you got to go with what you know. As promising as Krosky Merritt and Rodriguez are, you have known quantities in Austin Eckler and Jeremy McNichols. I do think there will be plenty of carries for at least RB3. So if Rodriguez is that third guy, I think he's going to get some action because Eckler has never been that every down back. And the consistency in the running with McNichols, as good as he is in pass protection, I'm not sure he's that kind of back either. So I think there's going to be carries to spare. Do they keep four guys active and just rotate all four of them and just do a full on running back by committee? I guess we'll have to wait and see that. But I think at least Rodriguez as RB3 is going to get plenty of work this weekend.
Yeah, I think McNichols is a third down back. That's what he is. I am not under any sort of guys that he's going to play first or second down snaps. I don't think McNichols is doing that. I think Eckler might get a couple, but I think they're probably going to limit that to five or so carries, as a lead. And I think it's going to be Rodriguez the rest of the way as a primary ball carrier. You'll see Eckler sprinkled in on some third down situations, second and long, second and short, things like that. But it doesn't mean a whole lot to me. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I expected it. I really expected it when everyone started talking about Krosky Merritt and the fantasy drafts and getting them and sleeping on them and this and that. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like the fix is in. Really feel like the fix is in. So wasn't surprised to see Eckler on the first spot. And these depth charts, like, especially nowadays, take them with a grain of salt because they play so many players, so many ways. And I'm not really surprised at anything. Even McCaffrey being where he is, not surprised by that either. Like, just take the whole thing with a grain of salt. Yeah, the only thing that matters is who was at QB1, honestly. Like, other than that, and the O line. Oh, shout out to Connolly again. Like, yeah, he was good.
Yep.
This running back situation, reminds me a little bit of not to heap too much comparison on there, but the 91 Redskins had quite the running back room with Ernest Biner and Gerald Riggs. In today's fantasy terms, those of you who don't know Gerald Riggs, if he was in fantasy football today, he would be known as a touchdown vulture. He had like 15 touchdowns, and they were all like 1 yard. Then they had a guy named Ricky Irvins who just came out of the gates just blazing, and that's your Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. And I think that Rodriguez might be your Gerald Riggs, although Riggs was a little older. And then Ernest Biner, Steady Eddie. I think that's a combo of Austin Eckler and Jeremy McNichol will give you those kind of carries. So starting the season off right, comparing his team to the 91 Redskins. That's for sure.
No hyperbole here.
No.
Oh. The interesting thing, and you mentioned it, Mike, Luke McCaffrey. McCaffrey is like the backup at like 7 different positions on this roster, which his versatility tells you why he's still on the team, right? He's a backup behind Terry McLaurin. He's a backup behind Noah Brown. He's a backup for kick returner, backup for punt returner. He has a role. Your lead punt returner is Jayden Lane. Your lead kick returner is Debo. And as you mentioned, Josh Connerly looks like the starting right tackle. So looking forward to week 1. Speaking of which, we are going to take on the New York Football Giants, who were established in August 1st, 1925, 100 years ago, if you're counting. And let's see, they wear dark blue, red, white, you know the colors. Their owner is John Mora. Their president, John Mara. Their general manager, Joe Schoen of Hard Knocks fame, right? The infamous Saquon Barkley trade, right? Head coach Brian Daboll. If you don't know Brian Daboll, he came up in the Bills organization. I believe he was the offensive coordinator there for many years with Josh Allen. Did a marvelous job and has since taken over the New York Giants. And let's see, the Giants real quick. They've been in the NFC since 1970 and the NFC East since 1970 as well. They have won 4 Super Bowl championships, 1986, 1990, 2007, 2011. And the last time they were in the NFC Conference Championship was 2011. Okay. They have made the playoffs in 2022, 2016, prior to or after that 2011 season. Anywho, the Giants were not amazing last year. And they did find a gem at wide receiver, though. They found Malik Neighbors, who I think we argued early in the season might be the number 1 and number 2 best wide receiver in the division that's there. They have a new quarterback this year, the infamous Russell Wilson. And he has been up and down. He went to Pittsburgh last year, and was how I describe him in Pittsburgh. He didn't lose them games, didn't win them, and then maybe lost some games when it came to the playoffs. I think they also drafted Jackson Dart. That was one of their key offseason additions. Jackson Dart is a polarizing pick. I am not a particularly strong believer in Jackson Dart. However, I don't think we're going to see him play against the Commanders, which we'll talk more about later. Additions. They had Brian Burns that they had traded for, Chauncey Golston, John Runyon, and Jermaine Illuminor. Let's see. They lost Tommy DeVito, their backup quarterback. He's now on the practice squad, but we don't care anything about Tommy DeVito. We're going to jump right into it. That's your history and your breakdown on it. Eric, the New York Football Giants, again, are led by Tyrone Tracy, running back, Russell Wilson, quarterback, Malik Neighbors is a wide receiver. Does that offense with the New York Giants concern you whatsoever?
It's going to depend on that offensive line. What the defensive line can do against that offensive line. The skill positions are decent. No complaints there. I mean, like I said, Malik Neighbors, questionable for the game, but I think that's just a designation. I'm sure he'll be fine. Darius Slayton, a nice number 2 wide receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson. These are guys that have produced in the NFL for a long time. Tyrone Tracy, Devin Singletary, who I think we have differing opinions on Devin Singletary as a running back, but I think he's a pretty good running back. Tyrone Tracy was able to beat him out. He's got some speed. He's going to be a solid running back. Quarterback is what it is. What's Russell Wilson got left in the tank? He did come out and beat Washington last year. Questionable call to end that game. Possibly Washington could have come out on top had a spot been a little bit more accurate, but is what it is. Russell Wilson's still a competent quarterback in the league, but the mobility is waning. He does not cook, as they say, as much anymore. And can he be that traditional pocket passer now that he's not able to move around as much? That's going to be the big key, and a part of that's going to be the offensive line. Evan Neal not cracking the starting lineup, first round pick a couple of years ago, turning out to be a bum. Tried to move him to guard, can't even win there. John Runyon, is he his dad? I don't know. Andrew Thomas, a nice solid left tackle there. Does our defensive line have enough to take him out? I'm going to say yes. I think our defensive line wins this matchup today against that offensive line, or this week rather, against that offensive line. And I think we can bother Russell Wilson. Like I said, the mobility is waning. He's still got a big play or two left in him, but he's always been the kind of guy that you have to keep in the pocket and let him throw over his offensive line. It's a lot easier to do that now because he's not as mobile as he used to be. So let's see what happens. I think their offense has pieces. Brian Dable will scheme them up, but I don't know how good it's going to be this year. There's a lot of question marks on that offensive line and at quarterback, at least early in the season. Maybe we will see Jackson Dart if Russell Wilson's bad enough, but I'll be fine if we do.
How much of an upgrade is Russell Wilson over Daniel Jones, in your opinion?
He's a big upgrade over Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Although I think Russell Wilson has been less effective against Washington than Daniel Jones has. So maybe he's just, they're like the Commanders are like Daniel Jones, like spinach for Popeye. The only team he's any good against apparently is Washington. But Russell Wilson has had a mixed bag. He's had some success against Washington, also had some struggles against Washington. So overall for them, I think Russell Wilson's a huge upgrade over Jones, but against Washington in particular, it's probably a wash.
Yeah. So Russell Wilson averages like 20 attempts a game, right? Or less. For his career last year, he played 11 games. I said attempts. I'm sorry, that was completion. So not a lot of throwing the football with Russell Wilson. He is dependent on a good running game to be effective. Listen, he averaged 30 attempts last year with Pittsburgh per game. And of that, he only threw 16 touchdowns. 30 attempts per game and threw 16 touchdowns in 11 games. So less than one touchdown or less than two touchdowns a game. I don't know, man. He doesn't concern me. The Pittsburgh game last year against us, he wasn't even all that great. I think we just had really bad secondary. Our secondary is much improved. Their running game, I feel pretty good about playing against their running game as well. But all right, Mike. I kind of led into it. Our defense against that New York Giants offense. How do you think we fare against them? You're talking? We can't hear you.
Shoot. I feel so much better about our secondary compared to last year. Who we had Michael Davis, Ben St. Juste, and Emmanuel Forbes. And even though Emmanuel Forbes is still a starter out in LA, and St. Juste seemed to crack the Chargers roster because I didn't hear anything about him not making it. I'm pretty sure everybody would have let us know if he didn't make the roster. But now you got some dogs, man. Mikey Samuelsville, the one left over from last year. Trey Amos, the rookie. But I really feel like not only for week one, but for the season, it's all going to fall on Lattimore, man. Is he good enough to handle what's being thrown at him? He said he was healthy. He said he was healthy now. He said that he was banged up last year. So you expect him to be a little bit better. And maybe we should cut him some slack, knowing that he was still banged up, but at least didn't get annihilated by A.J. Brown and Mike Evans in the playoffs. He got destroyed, but he didn't get annihilated by him. So I think the defensive secondary is going to fare well, and that's going to help the defensive line. Give them an extra second to get to the quarterback, and I believe they'll do it. And I'm expecting big things from them, and I'm really anxious to see how they'll perform in week one, but I'm expecting something good for real.
Yeah, and I want everybody to remember too. Week 1 is like another preseason game. Wild, wonky things happen. Don't take this as how the rest of the season's going to go. Football is so different now because they don't play that much in the preseason that you're still getting all the jitters out week 1. We played them on September 14th or 15th of last season in 2024. Daniel Jones was 16 to 28 for 2 touchdowns. Devin Singletary went 16 for 95, almost 6 yards a carry, 1 touchdown. Daniel Jones also added 32 yards on the ground. Malik Neighbors went bonkers in his first game against us. 10 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown. Darius Slayton was their second leading receiver with 3 catches, 33 yards. That game was weird. Like, if you remember, I remember watching that game, and it was just really odd. And we just came up with some really boneheaded plays against Neighbors. Defensively, they got to the quarterback a little bit. I think they had 4 total sacks against us. And for us, defensively, we had no sacks. Or no, Cleveland Farrell had 1 sack against Daniel Jones. That was in the first game. Then we played them later in the year, I believe in November. And we beat them. We won the first game 21-18. In November, we won 27-22. We were a whole different team by that point in the season, right? Jayden Daniels had come out and matured a little bit on the field. We were humming a little bit more as an offense, and we were 7-2 at the time. The Giants were 2-7, I believe, and looking towards the NFL draft. And we weren't in November for the first time in like ever, but we played a much different game that time. Jayden Daniels was 15 to 22, 2 touchdowns. You know who our leading rusher was that day?
Jayden Daniels.
Chris Rodriguez. 11 carries, 52 yards, 4.7 average. Noah Brown was our leading receiver, 5 catches, 60 yards. I think that was on that little run that Noah Brown had at that point in time. Jeremy Chin led us in tackles, 13 tackles that game, 2 tackles for loss. Offensively for the Giants, Daniel Jones was, again, 174. What is it about Daniel Jones? I never understood that. He just, some reason, could find the end zone against us. He was terrible. Tyrone Tracy was their leading rusher. He had about 66 yards. Malik Neighbors, 9 catches, 59 yards. And then somebody named Theo Johnson had 3 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown against us. So
tight end.
Was he a tight end?
That's what I was about to say. I think he was a tight end.
Still is a tight end. Still there.
Okay.
So watch out for him, I guess.
Let's watch out. We're going to roll out Jayden Daniels against that Giants defense. Remember, the Giants defense has Abdul Carter now. They've added him along with the other fellows on the defense that can get after the passer. So that pass rush will need to be stopped. Eric, what's our game plans against the old Giants here, offensively speaking, for us?
Oh, man, I think Cliff's got to scheme them up. I think the personnel on Washington's offense is much better than it was last year. The personnel on the Giants defense is also much better than it was last year. So it'll be an interesting matchup. You know, they added Brian Burns, who's been a very good pass rusher throughout his career, getting a little older, but he can still play. Kayvon Thibodeau is like the defensive version of Daniel Jones. He only plays good against Washington for some reason. And he's still there, obviously. Abdul Carter, the rookie, I guess he's an edge rusher, listed as number 2 on their depth chart behind Brian Burns. So that's interesting. I'm sure that won't really matter a whole lot. He'll get plenty of playing time. Bobby Okereke, really solid inside linebacker. You know, I think where Washington can attack them is their secondary with a healthy. Hopefully, Terry McLaurin is already back in shape and ready to ball. And Deebo Samuel, Luke McCaffrey, my guy, is going to get after him. I might pick him up in fantasy just because everybody else on my team is a third stringer. You know, Deontay Banks had a good rookie year, but kind of fell off a little bit at corner last year. You know, Washington's receivers kind of had their way with him last year. Javon Holland, a nice free safety. You know, as far as you know, what the game plan to attack that defense is, it's a Cliff Kingsbury game plan. There's going to be a lot of quick hits. They're going to run quite a bit from the spread offense. I think they are going to rotate running backs. It wouldn't surprise me to see 4 active running backs, to be honest with you. I think a lot of different guys are going to get carry. I think a lot of different guys are going to touch the ball. Jayden Daniels is going to throw. You're going to have 9 or 10 different guys with catches or touches on offense. You're going to take your deep shots. Terry McLaurin's still one of the best deep ball threats in the game. And our new kid, Jalen Lane, I bet he's got some deep ball catching into him as well. And reports on him have been super impressed, is that he's, very impressive at wide receiver, very good at separation. And, a lot of his lack of production in college was just due to quarterback play. So that was kind of the scouting report on him. And it seems like it's come true. I think Jayden Daniels is a much better quarterback than obviously he's ever played with before. So, I think, the game plans that we ran last year that worked every week, I think we're going to see quite a lot of those again. A lot of outside wide receiver bubble screens, a lot of misdirection, like sweep plays. You're going to see Deebo Samuel take a jet sweep. We're going to attack the running backs, and then we're going to take our deep shots. And we're going to go for it on fourth down a lot, just like this team did last year. Jayden Daniels didn't throw a pass in the preseason. That's a little concerning. So he's going to have to probably work a few kinks out. But I think this offense is, I think Cliff Kingsbury showed last year that he is a very good offensive coordinator and very good at scheming guys open. You'll see quite a bit of that. And if Jayden Daniels can knock the rust off early, it can be a big day for this offense.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially the part about the lateral offense. I think you're going to see that a lot to slow the pass rush down, especially early in the game. You want those defensive ends running sideways to chase the ball carrier, to tire them out a little bit. And then I think we'll do some interesting things off of that. All right, Mike, you know what they got on offense. We talked about it over there. I think you touched on it a little bit too. We got a big job to do with neighbors, right? But we do have some new help. We got Will Harris in there, and we got Amos, that's your favorite rookie, I think you said, right, coming into this season. Just how are we going to hold up with what they're going to bring at us, man?
I think we'll fare, like I said, I think we'll fare pretty well against their offense. That running back, it kind of concerns me. Like, I think Luvu and Wagner just aren't that good at covering running backs. So when you're talking about their receivers or their passing game, like Tracy might be able to get a couple of catches on that. So it's going to be tough, but I trust the scheme. I trust what they said they'll be running man a bit more, and it'll help. But with it being week one, it's kind of a bit unknown and just everything. And like I said, I'm just kind of anxious to see it all. Like, it's because we've been burnt so much in the past, both on the field and as fans, when expecting things to look better. But that trio, those cornerbacks, and even deeper in depth, like you mentioned, Jonathan Jones, Noah Igbenogany is still here. Like, the secondary is pretty solid, man. Like, it's definitely giving me 05 vibes, like, for sure, giving me 05 vibes. So yeah, I'm optimistic, if a bit pessimistic, but still, like I said, anxious to see it all.
Yeah, and on their defense, is there one guy that you think can really disrupt our game plan coming up on Sunday?
Nah, I just think the defensive line as a unit. I think people are starting to understand now that, as great as it is to have one monster, like, most teams are generating pressure as a unit, and the Giants are like among the best in my opinion. Like, that defensive line scares me. So I'm glad that they reassured the offensive line, or assured up the offensive line by bringing in more talent. But still, I think they're getting a great first test facing the Giants defensive line.
Yeah, definitely agree, man. All right, Eric, who is the one player that will be the difference in this matchup? It could be on either team, sir.
Luke McCaffrey. No, he's going to be my guy all season long because Brian Robinson's gone. mean, the easy answer there is Jayden Daniels. Obviously this team's going to go as he goes, but I'll go outside the box on the Giants, and I'm going to go with Dexter Lawrence. We didn't mention him at all this episode, and he is an unbelievable defensive lineman. Getting a little bit older, but he's still a fantastic player, and he is capable of wrecking things in the middle. He can really generate a pass rush from that defensive tackle position, and he can play the run with the best of them. So how our internal offensive line, our kind of new look offensive line with Allegretti playing on the right side now instead of the left, and Brandon Coleman playing left guard, instead of left tackle this year, our new look offensive line is going to have its handful on that interior with that interior Giants pass rush and run defense. So Dexter Lawrence is going to be my guy to watch out for.
You never go wrong, Dexter Lawrence. Mike, what about you? Who's your one guy?
Trying to think. Who haven't we talked about?
Luke McCaffrey.
Not Luke McCaffrey. I guess I'll bring it back to where we started, man. Russell Wilson. Hopefully he doesn't have that one last spark in him, especially coming off a fresh off season with something to prove. He's weird, man. Like he was not playing in the last preseason game that the Giants played, and this man was dressed up in the equipment, like head to toe with the black eye mark, and I'm like, something is seriously wrong with this man.
Putting off them RG3 vibes.
He does have RG3 vibes,
but like it's scary. Like I said, like he can easily have a turn back in time, and I'll flip it on the other side for us and say Von Miller. It's his. Maybe a swan song. It's his first week. It's a new team, and he can be the one that can kind of stop Wilson like he did 10 years ago, or almost 10 years ago in Super Bowl 50. So, it's kind of a nice throwback matchup. I'm looking forward to see. Like, it's a really, really good game on Sunday. I feel like we're going to see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a closer game than it will be later in the season.
It shouldn't be, but it is.
I think we'll still be figuring things out. My guy is Matt Gay. He was inconsistent in the preseason. Early last year, all we did was kick field goals in games with Austin Siebert. And so, like, I feel like it's going to be similar just because I believe there's going to be some rust. Terry wasn't around the whole offseason, basically. And so I think that connection is going to take some time to develop. Debo's new. Diami's no longer here. Zacchaeus is no longer here. I think there's just going to be some flaws offensively for us. So we're going to have to rely on special teams this week. So I'm going to say Matt Gay. Eric, what's your score prediction for this week?
I'm with you guys. I think it's going to be closer than it should be, or a lot of people think that it will be. Reading some of those Giants message boards, and they're basically saying it's a cakewalk for the G-men this weekend. So we've got that going for us, which is nice. But I'm going to take Washington. I'm not going to bet against Jayden Daniels at quarterback. As long as he's out there, you've always got a chance. I think he does knock the rust off easy. And I like that. That second matchup score. So I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to go 27-22 Washington.
Okay. Eric, Mike, what about you?
FanDuel has us by 5.5, so I'm going to say we don't cover. This week one. Things get wacky in week one, so don't expect a blowout. Don't expect the horses to start in full gear. It's going to be a ramp up. It's going to be a ramp up. So I'm going to say 27-24 Washington. No last second field goal. It just ends.
27 points. Okay. I think this is going to be more in line with like the Saints and the Bears games last year, where it just kind of looks kind of funky. The Bears, we won 18-15. You guys remember the Hail Mary. And the Saints game last year, we won 20-19. I'm going to say we win 20-18 over the New York Football Giants. It's a little messy, but we get our dub and we go back in the lab to try to be better the following week. So, all right, Eric, any final thoughts for week one?
Football season is here. Enough said.
Shit, that's all. I love it. Mike, final thoughts, sir.
I think it's gonna be a good season. Will we make it to the Super Bowl? I don't know. I'm just happy to have structure. I'm happy to have a franchise quarterback. I'm happy to have a good general manager. And yeah, I don't care. Well, of course, I do care how far we go, but it's just nice to have everything in order and to be among one of those teams for the foreseeable future that's going to have their hat in the ring. And that's all I wanted because it's hard to win championships. Like we just experienced that last season. We had a great season, and then we got our teeth kicked in the championship game. It's hard to get there. We haven't been there since '91. So I'm just ready to experience whatever the 2025 season has for us. And if we don't make the playoffs, I'll call it a failure. But I feel like this team with this coaching staff, they're one of the best 7 teams in the NFC, and I feel like they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, man. I'm with you. I think it's going to be an exciting ride. I think it's going to be a little bit bumpy to start, but we're good enough to overcome those bumps early in the season. So I got us getting the dub. Looking forward to another campaign here. You know, it's probably the first campaign. Well, it is the first campaign since the early '90s that you've been able to say that, hey, we're coming off a NFC championship the prior year or championship game the prior year. It hadn't happened since '91, right? Or since '92 was the last time you could say that. This means something, folks. Dial in, get your tickets or get your cable situation set up. Support this team through and through. It's a good group of folks in that building, and they're going to be on that field fighting hard for you each and every time they play a game. And I think we're going to be highly successful this year. So that's it. Commanders Declassified. Make sure you're subscribed. You tell your friends. You share our podcast. You help us grow. Help us trick the algorithm. You know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate each and every one of you. Go Commanders. Let's get this W. Peace.